Now, once we have given a logical design to our system and decided on the components, how they work together, how they fit, and divided our system into subsystems, we are now lacking one thing, that is to give a solid shape to our logical design. As I discussed in the previous example of system analysis and design being similar to making a recipe for a meal, we not only needed to know the ingredients and how they go together, but we also needed to know what utensils you use in order to make our dinner. Similarly, for system analysis and design, we not only needed to know what functionality we're supposed to do, we also needed to know what are the actual components that we need in the user interface controls we needed in order to interact with our system, with our made components. So once we have decided on the UI controls, for example the text box, picture boxes, and laid them out on our Windows form with respect to whatever component they are coming from, then we can easily code behind those buttons or picture boxes and everything. So let's just first start off with the user interface design of Training Set Manager. Now, this was the logical design of Training Set Management subsystem, where there was an image acquisition component, a face detection component, and a training set management component, and together they interacted with the faces database in order to manage the training set. Now, if we were to have it in form of a Windows application form, this subsystem implemented as a Windows application form, it would look something like this. Now let's see which of these which of these user controls form which component in the logical design we just saw. Now, first off, we need some image. We need to get some input image on which we will apply all of the functions. So this, for the image acquisition component, we need some button to browse an image, some buttons or some options that we can have a live video, and some picture box that actually shows whatever input image we're getting. So these user controls together, the UI controls, they actually make our image acquisition component. Once the image has been acquired, the next question comes about the face detection. So the face detector component detects faces and extracts them. For that, the UI controls we needed were the similar ones. The browse image, which when the image has been input, it should go for face detection, and then the face detection should show results into the same picture box with those faces marked in boxes as you can see in this image. And both of the image acquisition options available will call the face detector component, so these are also included for face detection. And another thing we needed for face detection component was the tuning detection parameters to improve our detection if it was not perfect earlier. So these are the UI controls that we need. When we implement them, I will give you the detailed account of why which is used here and why. However, if you have been following my earlier tutorials, then you know that so far until level 3 we have covered up till face detection. So we have except for this part that you can see here, we have implemented already the ones that you see, and perhaps you have seen the code and have run it and tried it. So the new thing that we need to actually add to our previous work was the training set management component. So as you know, that training set management component needs to connect to the faces database, load the training set. These are the UI controls that load the training set to the Windows form. These are the navigation buttons, and this is the picture box that shows the image whatever is loaded. This is a text box that shows you the name of the image that you had stored earlier into the faces database, and this is the delete face button, because training set management includes deleting a face from your database, of course. And this is the update face button. So you need all of this in order to view and manage your training set. And also you need some UI controls in order to add new faces which you detect and extract from here. So you need a picture box, it shows you the extracted face, and you need some, if there are more than one, you need 2 buttons, the previous and next. For example, there are multiple faces detected in this very image, so you need to navigate and see which faces have been detected, and you also need a text box in order to label your face. and a button is needed to add it to the training set. So this Windows form is actually a training set manager, and this training set manager interacts with your faces database to do the job of managing the training set by adding faces and doing editing the faces. Now it's time to move on to designing the interface for the face recognizer. So let's see. Now this is the logical design of our subsystem 2 face recognizer, where these components, image acquisition, face detector, and face recognizer, together work with the faces database to recognize a face by multiple functions that we had discussed in the analysis phase. Now when we have to implement it using some user controls, it will look something like this. Once again, the image acquisition component is going to be the same as in the training set management because the functionality hasn't changed, so I don't think the layout needs to change or UI controls need to change. And similarly, the face detection component is also going to remain the same because, again, the functionality remains the same. The new different thing that needs to be added is going to be the face recognizer component, the UI controls for face recognition. So which will be loading the training set again so that it can train the recognizer on the training set, the faces that you had added in the training set, and then show the calculated eigenfaces and average image. That is, show your trained data in some picture box. And then, of course, recognize the detected faces and show your result in some picture box. So this image, as you can see, that this part is also included in the face recognizer because face recognizer needs to show you the output as well, right? Just as you can see it over here, the labeled face. And these part, let me explain this. This is the match found from the database. From this database, it's going to show whatever match has been found for the input face. And this train the recognizer button is actually to load your faces for the recognizer and to train it on them. Once it has been trained, you have these two buttons which will allow you to show whatever eigenfaces you had calculated. Remember, we are doing PC eigenfaces method. That is why it's better that we see the results for our research purpose, for example. And then there is a view average face button. So you can also have a look at whatever the average face had been calculated. Now, as you can see, this button, open training set editor. Now this is a button that actually lets you connect both of these Windows forms together. You can use this button to load your training set manager. So integrating both of the subsystems is just done by simply one button. So now this is the layout of our subsystem 2, the face recognizer. And now that we have designed the interfaces for both of the subsystems, we're still left with designing the faces database. Now faces database could be designed in various ways, but we will go with designing it in MS Access database as a table, and why we do that we'll have a look at it later. But for now, just know that we are going to implement it in this way. It will be a table in MS Access, and we will be saving data here in this form. The details I will give it to you later. So the full system user interface design looks something like this. We have subsystem 1, the training set manager with the faces database, and the subsystem 2, the face recognizer with the database, and replacing them with their designed UIs. Your system is going to be looking like something like this, naturally. Okay, good enough with the designing and analysis part. It is time to move on and start implementing, and I would suggest to start implementing the components that are common for both subsystems, which would be faces database, the image acquisition, which gets the input image, and the face detection. Now it so happens that till level 3 we have covered the image acquisition and the face detection, so you actually know that we're somewhere about here in our implementation phase. Now the common component that needs to be implemented still is our faces database. And that is the exact thing that we're covering in our next tutorial, where we will actually design it and then create it in an MS Access and then start implementing it in this user interface, fill it and manage it, etc. So see you there.